Yo guys, what is going on? It is Tax here with another video. Today I'm going to be going over this Google Doc that I made that has a list of everything that you're going to need for this upcoming Tarkov wipe. This isn't fully absolute because BSG has announced that they will be adding more quests and more items into the game, and I will update this when those come out. But for now, this is how it is. So we've got a list of all the keys that you need currently for the quests. We've got every item that you need to upgrade your hideout to max, whether you have EOD or non-EOD. We have all the quest items that you need to find that need to be found in raid, and then there's also some quest items that you need that don't have to be found in raid, whether it's just for that quest or you have to place it somewhere. These are the things you'll need there. We've got a list of every gunsmith gun you will need. And so you've got all the guns you need that will be modified. Here we have a list of all the items that can't be bought for Gunsmith, whether they are a barter from a trader or they just can't be acquired any other way than finding them in raid. Then we've got the Gunsmith things that are buyable, and I labeled them all so you know how many you need, who you can buy them from, and what loyalty level you need for these. Then we have some places to avoid. I have what each item contains. And then I've got some extra floor spawns. So once you're getting to this document, you want to go File, make a copy, put it in your Google Drive. And this will make it so that you can edit it. So now you can, say you find one of these keys, you can delete it. Boom, I've got that key. And so you're going to be going down whenever you find something, you're going to be Xing it off. So let's get into a raid and let's go over some of these things more in depth. Okay, now that we're in raid, let's talk about the keys and other things such as quest and hideout items. So when you find these keys, so some of them have guaranteed spawns, like the machinery key in the brown jacket of 205 in the 3-story dorm. And what you want to make sure you do with these keys is make sure you put these into your secure container, because these are very important to have, and if you don't have these you won't be able to do the quest, and if you're not able to do the quest then you're wasting valuable time that you could be doing the quest. And another thing to keep note of is in past wipes, if you have friends that you play with and they have done the quest or they have the key, they would be able to drop you the key, but that is no longer something they can do because of new RMT changes. You are no longer able to drop non-found in raid keys. They will just be destroyed and you won't get anything on the ground. You won't be able to pick up the key. Also, with some of these keys, they're going to be keys other than this one that don't have the guaranteed spawn. They're going to be harder to find, and they are most likely going to be going for a decent amount of money onto the flea. So let's say you do find the key and it's not one of these ones that have a guaranteed spawn. Make sure that you either make sure you get out with it, then you can sell it to the flea, or drop it to your friend if you're in a raid and you found a second one. But just, make sure that after you get done using this key, if you have a friend that you play with, if you plan on playing with anyone in the future or anything, make sure that when you get out of raid and you've done your quest, so let's say I get this machinery key, next raid I go, I get the pocket watch, I turn it in, and boom, I'm done with the quest, and I don't need the key. Usually you would just vendor it, but with these new changes, make sure that you keep this in the bottom of your stash so that you don't have to run all the way over here and grab it again. Next, we have quest and hideout items. So one thing to note is that quest items do have to be found in raid, but hideout items do not. So we've got a CPU fan and a circuit board here. And luckily these are both, they're both quest items, but they're also both hideout items, and you need a lot of these CPU fans. So what you can do is you can put them in your secure container, your pouch, whatever you want to call it, and you can make sure that if you die in this raid, running to extract, fighting another team, you're making sure that you get something out of this raid, even if you don't make it out with the CPU fan and making them found in raid. Make sure that you get out with something instead of nothing. It also brings up, so start of wipe, you're going to be putting things into this gamma, before raid. And what you want to make sure of is that, especially if you have the smaller one, make sure that you're utilizing your spaces. So like, a lot of people put meds in here, a couple meds, especially start of wipe, because they're a little harder to come by, because you can't buy them yet. And you want to make sure that whether it's the first thing you pick up, make sure that you always have things into those extra spaces, because you never know when you'll run across a player or a scav that just headshots you. So you want to make sure that if you don't make it out of that raid, you get something out of it. Because, let's say I've got these in here, everything else is full, and let's say I find, something that's 2 slots and expensive, even if these are already on here, you can easily just pull them out and put whatever that item is in there, so that you're always making sure that you're using these properly. Next, we have gunsmith parts. So, we find these weapon boxes, these weapon crates, and you see this in here. You don't know if it's something you need, check the dock. You can see if it's something that you need. Don't waste too much time trying to find it, If you have the space, you can just grab it, and just make sure you survive. You can check all these other things. Pretty sure we need this PT lock. So, I can put this in my container. And because all the parts for Gunsmith don't need to be found in raid either. But you also want to make sure that, so these guns that you're making have to be 60 durability or more. So what does that mean? That means you either have to find them in weapon boxes, players, or you have to buy them from traders. So they will not be able to be found off scavs unless they are above 60 durability. I think some of them you can find off of raiders and rogues as well. Maybe even a couple off bosses. But if a big thing to make sure of is you mainly want to check the not purchasable, because the ones that are not purchasable are going to go for good money on the flea, which means it's going to cost you money on the flea to buy these as well. And you can't get them, so you're going to make sure, you want to make sure that you have that, in your wherever. You just want to make sure that you have it, preferably in your secure container, especially if it's, so this PT lock, like this you can buy off a trader. So, you can put that out of there, and you can make sure that you get, whatever piece it is that you need that cannot be bought from traders. Next, we have some interesting things to know with certain loot containers. So these are the supply crates. There are 3 different options: medical, rational, and I believe the other one is called technical, which has industrial and electronics in it. So to check these, you want to look at the top right, and it'll see it's medical. So this one will always be medical. So learning which ones are medical, which ones are technical, and whatever, just make sure that you know which is which, so that if you're looking for medical supplies, you're not checking the ration one. Another container I wanted to point out is, so these are med cases. There's med cases and med bags, which are almost identical. The main difference is these med cases, the highest med kit they can spawn with is a cheese. So this IFAK that's spawning next to it will not spawn inside of this. But in a med bag, it can spawn any med kit. But this med case can only spawn the cheese, so no IFAK, AFAK, Salewa, Grizz, nothing. So if you're looking for the Salewas, if that's the only thing you're looking for, just completely ignore these med cases. It's not going to be in there. Lastly, ground loot. So ground loot is similar to this IFAK. So this IFAK is a ground loot medical spawn. So right there could have been your Salewa or whatever you needed. Another example of ground loot that is on that list is, you see Crack House is on the medical 4 list loot. And this is Crack House right here, right across from Fort. And there are multiple spots in this building to find Salewas. The big room up top, there are medical spawns all over. The CMS kit could have been a Salewa. You have to check these shelves over here. There's some right there. Now, there's no Salewas, but you can check there. Also, almost anywhere in this building. Now look here, look, we got 1, 2 Salewas, and we're almost home free, and an ibuprofen, you put that in your pouch, save it for the next couple raids. Next, we're gonna go over some places not to be, especially early wipe if you are solo, or maybe you've lost a few raids in a row, you really need to get out. Try to avoid certain areas. I have another one marked on the dock, but this is a big one to ignore on customs. So this is Fort, Stronghold, whatever you call it. Try to avoid this area, because while there are a lot of good spots to find those early quest items, there are also, it's the same reason, there's a lot of early quest items. So that's where the 3-mans, 4-mans, however many people they have, there's going to be a lot of people going to this area. And if you're not confident with your skill, stay away from this area, as it'll most likely just be you losing your gear. As you can see from the list, the game, especially at the start, is a lot harder for people without EOD, which is the most expensive version of the game, the Escape of Darkness, or whatever it is properly called. And the main thing, especially early wipe, that they suffer from is their stash space is a lot smaller, because EOD in the hideout starts with this stash right here in the bottom left, right here. It starts at level 4, so it's 10 by 68, and for the non-EOD it starts at level 1 and you have to upgrade it. So what you want to make sure you're doing is either getting your rigs and making sure they are full of things. There's no empty space, there's a few empty spaces here, so look, we can put more things in there, and it saves you a lot of space, especially early when you're not having EOD. Even if you do have EOD, it starts to become quite a clutter once you are collecting quest items, because you're going to need them. You don't want to get rid of them because you need them. Another big thing, especially for quest items, is this: a Lucky Scab junk box. These can hold look, it says, all sorts of different items and goods that you may or may not need for later barters. So these hold barter items. Now, what are barter items, you ask? They are basically everything you need for quests. So barter items, syringes, H2Os, med tools, M tubes, fuel conditioners, even your markers, your cameras. It holds all different kinds of these barter items, which is a lot of the quest items. So this saves a lot of space because it makes this big area with this small box in your stash, and you can put most of the quest items that you are going to be collecting inside of there, besides like the meds and clothing. Something else I want to talk about is make sure you are, if you're having any issues, I put this here so you can look at the full tables of, the looting. It'll tell you everything you can find and any of those things that it showed you. So you want to make sure that you go here, and they have detailed everything that you need. Like, look, we can, go to Gunsmith. I told you what parts you need. But here, you can go in here, can show you the inspection view. You know, you're putting what you need. Tells you notes. You know, it's based on it from proper level 2. And you know, it can, some of these other ones, you know, you have to have the right here. So that you must fold the stock, you know. You have to make sure that you're doing some of these things. It's just a good thing to know that exists and to keep track of is the wiki. Very useful, very good. Something else that you might want to look at, definitely is enjoyable. Go to Rengar on YouTube. You know, make sure you drop a subscribe. You know, make sure you subscribe. And he has gone from max traders in 4 days from a fresh account. And you may say, you know, look, this is 2 months ago. You know, this is in April. This was, you know, 4 months into the wipe. You know, nobody is contesting these high loot areas. But he did this at the start of wipe too. He got max traders in 4 days. You know, he just didn't make a video of it. He just did this a second time to show everybody how to do it. And he said that he will also be doing the same thing at the start of this wipe. So, you know, if this is past wipe, you know, check out his YouTube, see if the new videos for the new wipe are out. And if it's like first day of wipe, you know, check out his Twitch. He's most likely going to be streaming. I mean, he's live right now. And you know, you can say, you know, you're here in the middle of his stream. That's fine. You can go to his profile, check out his VOD. You know, and he speaks very detailed about everything he's doing, especially at wipe. You know, he breaks it down, tells you why he's doing it. And he especially does that in those videos. You know, he goes, especially in the first few, look at this, he goes into, you know, he talks about stash management at the start. You know, he gets tasks, strategy, shows you what loadout to do. You know, what you should do for your first raid. You know, finding anything that you need here, especially in these early times of wipe. And you know, hey, if he's not live, you know, you can come check me out. I'll be trying to do the same thing as him, you know, try to get max traders, you know, fast as possible, doing all these quests, you know, using my collection list, you know, the checklist. And so if you want to pop in, say hi, I would greatly appreciate it. It may not be the best quality. My PC's a little scuffed. I'll try to work on it and see if I can get it, you know, up and properly going. And I'll make sure that the link for this is in the description. I'll put, you know, Rengar's YouTube. I'll put, you know, my Twitch. You know, I'll put the link to the wiki. So that's all going to be in the description. Check them all out. You know, if there's any issues with this, you know, put it in the comments, you know, or send it to me. You know, tell me any issues. If you enjoyed, please like, please subscribe. If you want more guides on Tarkov, say something in the comments. Say what you want, whether it's a PvP guide, you know, looting a certain area. But just let me know, and I will see what I do. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.